What happens when one of Hollywood's biggest stars sits down for what should be a simple talk show interview, only to be blindsided by a host who seems more interested in scoring points than having an actual conversation? In just 35 seconds, a single comment would turn a late-night appearance into one of the most shocking walk-offs in television history. Mark Wahlberg walked onto that stage, expecting the usual banter. The friendly back and forth, maybe some jokes about his movies, his workout routine, the kind of stuff he'd done 100 times before on 100 different shows. He smiled, waved to the audience, and sat down in that guest chair like he'd done so many times. The crowd was excited. They loved Mark, and why wouldn't they? Here was a guy who'd worked his way up from nothing, who'd turned his life around, who'd become one of the biggest movie stars on the planet while staying grounded and real. Stephen Colbert started off normal enough. The first few questions were standard. How's the family? What's the new movie about? Mark answered them all with his usual charm, that Boston accent coming through, making the audience laugh with a few well-timed jokes. Everything seemed fine. Everything seemed like just another night of late-night television. But then something shifted. Colbert leaned back in his chair, and there was this look in his eye, this smirk, like he'd been waiting for this moment, like he had something prepared that he knew was going to get a reaction. "So Mark," Colbert said, his voice dripping with that fake casualness that talk show hosts do when they're about to ask something they think is clever. "I've been reading about your past. You know, before you became this big action star and all that. Pretty rough stuff, wasn't it?" Mark's smile faded just a little. "Not much, but enough that you could see it if you were paying attention." "Yeah, I mean, I've never hidden from my past, Stephen. I've talked about it plenty. I made mistakes when I was a kid. I've worked hard to make up for them." The audience was quiet now. This wasn't the fun, light part of the interview anymore. Colbert nodded, but it wasn't a supportive nod. It was the kind of nod someone gives when they're about to twist the knife. Right. You've worked hard. You've said you're sorry. But here's what I'm curious about. Do you think that's enough? I mean, you did some pretty terrible things. You hurt people, real people, and now you're this rich, famous guy making millions per movie. Does that seem fair to you? Mark's jaw tightened. You could see it happening in real time. His whole body language changed. He sat up straighter. "I've spent my entire adult life trying to be a better person, Stephen. I've worked with kids in tough neighborhoods. I've donated time and money to causes that help people turn their lives around like I did. I'm not perfect, but I'm trying every single day." Sure, Colbert said, waving his hand dismissively, like Mark's answer was just noise. "But let's be honest here. You got away with it, didn't you? I mean, if you weren't Mark Wahlberg the movie star, if you were just some regular guy from Boston who did the things you did, you'd probably still be paying for it. But because you got famous, because you got rich, society just kind of forgot about it. Doesn't that bother you?" The audience was dead silent now. This wasn't entertainment anymore. This was uncomfortable. People were shifting in their seats. Mark's face was red. Not from embarrassment, from anger. "What exactly are you trying to say, Stephen?" Mark asked, his voice low and controlled. Too controlled. The kind of controlled that meant he was holding something back. Colbert shrugged, playing innocent. "I'm just asking questions, Mark. I mean, this is what journalism is, right? Holding people accountable? You come on these shows, you promote your movies, everyone laughs and claps, but nobody really asks the hard questions. Nobody really pushes back on the narrative you've created about yourself." "The narrative I've created?" Mark repeated, and now there was real heat in his voice. "Stephen, I've never lied about my past. I've never pretended I was some saint. I've been open and honest about the mistakes I made when I was a teenager. What more do you want from me? Maybe I want you to acknowledge that you benefited from privilege." Colbert shot back, and his voice was sharper now too. The fake friendliness was gone. "White privilege, celebrity privilege, wealth privilege. You did things that would have destroyed someone else's life, but you got a second chance. Multiple chances. And now you're sitting here in a $15,000 suit telling everyone how hard you worked." Mark stood up. Just stood right up out of his chair. The audience gasped. This wasn't scripted. This wasn't part of the show. This was real. "You know what, Stephen?" Mark said, and his voice was shaking now, not from fear, from fury. "I came here to talk about my new film. I came here to have a conversation. I didn't come here to be ambushed by someone who clearly has some kind of agenda. You want to talk about privilege? Let's talk about yours. You sit here behind this desk every night, making jokes, feeling superior, judging everyone who walks through that door. You've never had to struggle a day in your life. Now wait just a minute. Colbert started, but Mark cut him off. No, you wait. You don't know me. You don't know what I've been through. You don't know the work I've put in, the people I've helped, the lives I've tried to touch in a positive way. You read some articles, you watch some interviews, and you think you've got me all figured out. You think you can sit there and lecture me about accountability? About privilege? Who the hell do you think you are? The audience didn't know whether to clap or stay silent. Some people started clapping. Others just sat there, stunned. Colbert's face was pale now. He clearly hadn't expected this. Mark, I think you're overreacting. I'm just doing my job as a host. Your job? Mark laughed, but there was no humor in it. Your job is to make your guests feel attacked? Your job is to bring someone on your show and then try to humiliate them in front of millions of people? That's not journalism, Stephen. That's just being a bully with a microphone. I'm not bullying you, Colbert protested, and now he was getting defensive. I'm asking legitimate questions that I think the audience wants answers to. Mark looked out at the audience. Do you want these answers? He asked them directly. Do you want to sit here and watch this guy try to make me feel like garbage for things I did when I was 16 years old? Things I've apologized for? Things I've worked every day since then to make, right? The audience was conflicted. You could feel it in the room. Some people were nodding. Some people looked uncomfortable. Some people just wanted this to be over. Mark turned back to Colbert. You know what the difference is between me and you, Stephen? I own my mistakes. I don't hide behind a desk and a laugh track. I don't pretend to be morally superior while I tear other people down for ratings. I face my past every single day, and I work to be better. What do? You sit here and judge people like you've never done anything wrong in your entire life. That's not fair, Colbert said, and his voice was quieter now, smaller. I'm not saying I'm perfect. Then why are you treating me like I claim to be? Mark fired back. I came here to talk about a movie, Stephen. A movie where I play a regular guy trying to do right by his family. That's it. That's all this was supposed to be. But you couldn't help yourself, could you? You had to go digging. You had to try to make yourself look smart by making me look bad. Colbert tried to recover. Mark, if you just sit down, we can talk about this like adults. Like adults? Mark's voice went up. You want to talk like adults? Adults don't ambush their guests. Adults don't invite someone onto their show and then attack them. Adults have respect for other people, even when they disagree with them. I do respect you, Colbert insisted, but it sounded hollow now. I just think these are important conversations to have. Then have them with someone who signed up for that, Mark said. I signed up to promote my movie. That's it. I didn't sign up to be your punching bag so you could feel good about yourself. The production staff was frozen. The cameras were still rolling. Nobody knew what to do. This wasn't in the script. This wasn't how these things were supposed to go. Colbert tried one more time. Mark, please. Let's just take a breath here. We can start over. Start over? Mark shook his head. Why would I do that? So you can take another shot at me? So you can ask me more hard questions that are really just you trying to prove how enlightened you are? No thanks, Stephen. I'm done. You're really going to walk off my show? Colbert asked. And now there was genuine surprise in his voice. Maybe even a little fear. This was going to be everywhere. This was going to be the story. Yeah, I am, Mark said simply, because I respect myself too much to sit here and be disrespected by you. He pulled off his microphone, just yanked it right off his collar, and set it on the chair. The thud of it hitting the cushion echoed in the silent studio. This is ridiculous, Colbert tried, his voice getting higher, more desperate. You're being oversensitive. Mark stopped walking, turned back. Oversensitive? You just spent the last 10 minutes trying to paint me as some privileged hypocrite who doesn't deserve his success, and I'm oversensitive for not sitting there and taking it? I didn't say you don't deserve your success, Colbert backpedaled. You absolutely did, Mark countered. You said I got away with things. You said I benefited from privilege while others suffered. You implied that everything I've accomplished is somehow tainted because of mistakes I made as a kid. That's exactly what you said. Colbert looked at his notes, scrambling. I was trying to have a nuanced conversation about redemption and accountability in our society. No, you weren't, Mark said, and his voice was calm now, eerily calm. You were trying to make me squirm. You were trying to get a viral moment. Well, congratulations, Stephen. You got it, just not the way you wanted. Some people in the audience started clapping again, louder this time, more of them. Colbert's face went red. So that's it? You're just going to run away when someone challenges you? Challenges me? Mark laughed again. Stephen, I've been challenged my whole life. I grew up in a neighborhood where every day was a challenge. I've worked on movies where the physical demands nearly broke me. I've faced criticism from people who had every right to criticize me. But you're not challenging me. You're grandstanding. There's a difference. I think the audience can decide that for themselves, Colbert said, gesturing to the crowd. You're right, they can, Mark agreed. And from the sound of it, they already have. More applause. Not everyone, but enough. Enough to make Colbert's face get even redder. This is my show, Colbert said. And now he sounded petulant, like a child who wasn't getting his way. You don't get to come on here and tell me how to do my job. And you don't get to invite me on here and ambush me? Mark shot back. This goes both ways, Stephen. You want respect? You have to give it. I've been nothing but respectful, Colbert protested. Really? Mark's eyebrows went up. So asking me if I think it's fair that I'm rich and successful, despite my past? That's respectful? Implying that I've gotten away with something? That's respectful? Dismissing everything I've said about the work I've done to be better? That's respectful? Colbert didn't have an answer for that. He just sat there, mouth opening and closing like a fish. That's what I thought, Mark said. He started walking again, heading for the exit. Where are you going? Colbert called after him. Anywhere but here, Mark replied without turning around. We're in the middle of a show. Colbert's voice was almost shrill now. Then I guess you better find something else to fill the time, Mark said. Maybe you can spend it thinking about why your guests keep leaving. That stopped Colbert cold. What's that supposed to mean? Mark finally turned around one last time. It means this isn't the first time you've made a guest uncomfortable, Stephen. It's just the first time someone's called you out on it on camera. Maybe take the hint. The audience was buzzing now. People were talking to each other, looking at their phones, recording on their devices. This was chaos. Beautiful, unscripted chaos. Colbert tried to laugh it off. Well, folks, I guess Mark Wahlberg doesn't like tough questions. No, Stephen, Mark said, his voice cutting through the noise. I don't like gotcha journalism disguised as tough questions. There's a difference, and deep down you know it. I'm just trying to hold you accountable, Colbert insisted. To who? Mark asked. To you? What makes you the arbiter of accountability? What gives you the right to sit in judgment of me or anyone else who comes on this show? It's called freedom of the press, Colbert said smugly. And it's called freedom to leave when someone's being a jerk to you, Mark countered. Works both ways. The audience laughed at that. Even some of Colbert's fans had to admit it was a good line. Colbert's smugness faded. I'm not being a jerk. I'm being a journalist. Journalists report facts, Stephen. They don't editorialize someone's entire life based on a few headlines they read. They don't invite someone on under false pretenses and then attack them. I didn't attack you, Colbert said, but his voice was weak now. Yes, you did, Mark said firmly. And you know what? I feel sorry for you. I really do, because you're so wrapped up in your own self-righteousness that you can't see how you come across. You think you're speaking truth to power, but really you're just punching down at someone who's trying to be better. Punching down? Colbert scoffed. You're a millionaire movie star, and you're a millionaire talk show host, Mark replied. What's your point? Colbert didn't have one. He just sat there, looking smaller by the second. You know what I've learned in my life, Stephen? Mark asked. And his voice was softer now. Not kind, but not angry either. Just sad. I've learned that being a good person isn't about being right all the time. It's not about proving you're smarter or more enlightened than everyone else. It's about treating people with dignity. It's about giving people the benefit of the doubt. It's about recognizing that everyone's fighting battles you don't know about. I know about your battles, Colbert said quietly. No, you don't, Mark corrected. You know about the headlines. You know about the public record. But you don't know about the nights I couldn't sleep because I was thinking about the people I hurt. You don't know about the conversations I've had with my kids about making better choices than I did. You don't know about the guy I met last year whose life I changed because I took the time to listen to him and help him get back on his feet. You don't know me, Stephen. You just think you do. The studio was silent again. You could hear a pin drop. Maybe I was too harsh, Colbert offered, but it sounded forced. Like someone told him to say it through his earpiece. Maybe? Mark raised an eyebrow. Stephen, you basically called me a fraud who doesn't deserve his success. That's not maybe too harsh. That's way over the line. I didn't call you a fraud, Colbert backpedaled. You might as well have, Mark said. Every question you asked was designed to undermine me, to make me look bad, to make the audience question whether I'm really the person I say I am. Are you? Colbert asked. And there it was again. That smirk, that arrogance. Mark stared at him for a long moment. You know what? I don't have to prove anything to you. Not anymore. I've spent years proving myself to the people who matter, my family, my friends, the people I've helped, the communities I've worked with. You're just a guy with a TV show who thinks he's more important than he is. That's insulting, Colbert said. It's honest, Mark replied. And if you can't handle honesty, maybe you shouldn't be asking for it from your guests. Colbert stood up now too. Fine. Leave then. Run away. That's what people like you do when you can't defend yourselves. People like me? Mark's voice went dangerous. What does that mean, Stephen? People who made mistakes? People who came from nothing? People who worked their way up? Which people are you talking about? Colbert realized he'd stepped in it. I just meant people who don't like being questioned. No, you meant something else, Mark said. And we both know it. Just like you meant something else with every question you asked tonight. You weren't looking for answers, Stephen. You were looking for blood. That's dramatic, Colbert scoffed. Is it? Mark asked. Then why do you look so satisfied right now? Why do you have that look on your face like you won something? Colbert's expression faltered. That's what I thought, Mark said. This was never about having a conversation. This was about you getting to feel superior. About you getting to take down someone you decided didn't deserve what they have. Well, congratulations. You tried. But all you did was show everyone watching who you really are. And who's that? Colbert challenged. Someone who's more interested in being right than being decent, Mark answered. Someone who uses his platform to bully people instead of building them up. Someone who mistakes cruelty for courage. The audience was completely on Mark's side now. The applause was constant. People were standing up. Colbert saw it happening. Saw his own audience turning on him. Sit down, he told them. Sit down. This is my show. But they didn't sit down. They kept clapping, kept cheering for Mark. You should go, Colbert said to Mark. And now he just sounded tired, defeated. I was already leaving, Mark reminded him. You were the one who kept talking. Just go, Colbert repeated. Gladly, Mark said. He looked at the audience one more time. Thank you all for being here. I'm sorry you had to see this, but sometimes you've got to stand up for yourself, even when it's uncomfortable. They cheered louder. Mark walked off the stage. He didn't look back, didn't hesitate, just walked right off like he owned the place. Colbert stood there at his desk, looking lost. His producers were scrambling in his ear. The audience was still applauding. Some of them were filing out, following Mark's lead. Well, Colbert finally said into the camera, trying to recover, I guess that's all the time we have tonight. But nobody was listening anymore. The show was over. Not because they ran out of time, because Colbert had pushed too far, and everyone knew it. Mark Wahlberg walked off that stage with his dignity intact. He didn't owe Stephen Colbert an explanation. He didn't owe him a performance. He didn't owe him anything. And in that moment, everyone watching learned something important. You don't have to sit there and take it when someone disrespects you. You don't have to smile and nod when someone tries to tear you down. You can stand up. You can speak your truth. You can walk away. That's exactly what Mark did. He walked away from a bully with a desk and a microphone. He walked away from someone who valued ratings over respect. He walked away because staying would have meant accepting treatment he didn't deserve. Stephen Colbert learned something that night too. He learned that not everyone will play along with his games. Not everyone will sit there quietly while he takes his shots. Some people will fight back. Some people will call him out. Some people will leave. The cameras kept rolling for a few more seconds after Mark left. They caught Colbert's face, caught the confusion and anger and embarrassment all mixed together. They caught the moment he realized he'd miscalculated badly. Then the feed cut to commercial, but the damage was done. The moment was captured. The walk-off was complete. And Mark Wahlberg proved something that night. He proved that success and fame don't mean you have to accept disrespect. He proved that you can acknowledge your past without letting it define your present. He proved that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply refuse to participate in someone else's attempt to diminish you. Stephen Colbert sat at his desk, alone now except for his crew. The audience had mostly left. The energy in the room was gone. He'd wanted a moment. He'd gotten one, just not the kind he wanted. He'd wanted to be the hero, exposing the truth about Mark Wahlberg. Instead, he became the villain, revealed as someone more interested in scoring points than having genuine conversations. Mark, meanwhile, walked out of that building with his head held high. He didn't need Stephen Colbert's show. He didn't need Stephen Colbert's approval. He had something better. He had self-respect, and that's something no talk show host can ever take away.